Thanks for joining the call, the event today, and I'm happy that we are starting today the technical focus and for giving an opportunity to women leaders. And it's my opportunity that I'm the first one to start this. And today, so right, I'm from Boeing, as Sujata has given the introduction. So my focus will be, so my background is all artificial intelligence, data analytics. So I've been doing that from say 20 years now. But slowly over the time, I realized that, only data analytics, artificial intelligence might not help. We need to have a digital twin. So digital twin is something, going to change many things in our company. You might have heard that word already, but I would like to talk in context of era of aviation only, that what exactly our company will look like when we have a digital twin. And so with this, I'm going to start the discussion. If you have any questions, feel free to put it on the chat box and I will be happy to take that. Okay, so I'm in slide 1 now, so hope you can see that. So what is currently changing in aerospace world? There is a rate of change will continue to accelerate, but what exactly is changing? What is changing is digitization. We are trying to digitize each and everything, like starting from our factories, we are trying to digitize how we receive the data, how we are doing assembly, and so on. We will talk that in the whole presentation today. And the artificial intelligence, we were applying artificial intelligence in the factory, on aircrafts, on supplier side when we are trying to, uh, see, if we see specifically in aircraft field, when you go to a airport, you don't want to, see my flight is delayed. Would you like to? I mean, you can put that on the chat box and I will be able to see. What do you, I mean, if you get a message, you have reached on airport, hey, your flight will be delayed by 2 hours. What do you feel? I mean, do you like that? No, right? If anybody like that, would like to meet that person. But actually, so what happens is, how can I avoid those delays? How can I avoid the airplane on the ground? We are applying artificial intelligence uh, to avoid any failures, to avoid delays, cancellations of the flights. Not only that, we are applying artificial intelligence in our factory while we are assembling our aircraft, while we are doing a production flight before we give it to customers. So we are applying in many areas. Now comes the autonomy. So we are moving towards autonomy. Autonomy, you can think of autonomous aircrafts without pilot. Can we fly? So that is where the word is changing now. So as of now, we will start with the cargo flights, but we would like to make sure that we were able to detect or avoid and fly, right? So that will come under autonomous, and many different applications like electrifications, advanced material and manufacturing, additive manufacturing, you must have heard that, and increased access to the space. We have our factories. I'll show you how, by changing into the digitization world, how we have changed our space into factories. Earlier in days, it was like zigzag assembly. So those type of things we are trying to change in aerospace world. Now let's move to the next slide. What is driving us? Why this digital transformation is happening? I talked about many things. One of the key thing which I want to talk about is the digital transformation of aerospace is driving because of the real-time data growth, right? So if you see here, in past these are sensors, the yellow one here on top of it. If you see, we have very less sensors in the past, and we were not collecting that much data. But today we have increased the sensors in the aircraft, and we want to analyze all that, so that, as I've given an example, saying would like to avoid delays and airplane on the ground, which is not good for Boeing as well as for our customers as well as for airlines customers. Now in future, we will have more and more data, more opportunities. So this is one example that, how this digital transformation is happening. So by this, you will need analytic capabilities once you have more and more data to analyze it. We will talk about that as well. But this is one example of aircraft, which similarly we have in factories as well. Okay, now let's talk about the digital value chain, which is kind of the topic today, the digital twin. So we have, I'm showing here, we have multiple phases of the airplane life cycle. It starts with design and analysis, manufacturing, then quality, then assembly, delivery, then we get into in-service, which is when the aircraft is flying, then any modifications and recycle and reuse. So the current state of the data is design and analysis will be somewhere, the data will be somewhere else, manufacturing data is somewhere else, quality is somewhere else, in-service data is somewhere else. The data is in silos. Now, by this, if we could connect the data together to make informed decisions across the product whole life cycle, the digital, this will be kind of, a game changer. So the digital thread, which is provide you the connectivity for all this data connectivity. So we will have all the data connected. I'm showing here. You will have design and analysis. You are from the airplane when the product came from design time. You have all the information till we have get into service, and then even if there is any modifications or recycle. So this is very important for data driven making decisions. Now, once I have that, data standards are very critical. Can you think of why? If you can imagine, data standards will be achieved to achieve high interoperability, right? So we need to have the data standard should be our key focus of our digital thread. So that's one. Now moving to the next one, where the topic comes the digital twin intelligence. Now imagine connecting various different digital models together to create value representation of the product system, production system, as well as the services and the support system. So if we are able to connect all that, can you imagine how that will change the world? So these, if I can connect my product system, production system, and the supply and support and the services, this will be kind of, these connections are actually, if I can make that, are called the digital twins. And they will provide the intelligence for making informed decisions. Okay, so now once I have my data connected, now I have my digital models together, what I can do on top of it. Now imagine applying the data analytics to these models to construct real-time what if analysis, on potential changes. Data analytics can provide insights of these informed decisions. It will provide, when I have a whole word connected in from my product, like when the aircraft came in, and I have all whole information. Now let's say if something happened to my aircraft, I have everything at one place. Hey, when did it came in? What is the lifetime? What is the time left for this? When is the inspection required? When the last failure occurred? When this type of failure occurred, what did we do at that time? All that information is there, and I should be able to get information from the data analytics. Now, once we have data analytics, so data driven decision making, we will be taking all the decisions based on the information provided by data, right? So that's the digital value chain, which will be uh, bring a change, and we will take decisions in the real time. Please post your questions if you have in the chat box. Okay, so now would like to touch upon few things. So when I said the connectivity, right? So when we are connecting everything, so one example you can think of is IoT, right? IoT or the cognitive computing, which are very central to our strategy. IoT will be able to connect the world, and cognitive computing will help us to take decisions. That's what we have seen in the last slide as well. So when I have a IoT connected, I have all the observations, I have all the data, I have information and the knowledge, number of manuals and lots of information we have. When we have everything, we will be able to acquire that information, we will be able to store the information and learn from the history, and will be able to deliver. So we are using analytics, digital twin to make our product better and make better products, because we are looking from the design point of view, right? Now, this was one example, but if have to think of digital manufacturing transformation, I'm not thinking only IoT. We have to think, what exactly the digitization, complete digitization for us in the manufacturing world. So we are 103 years old company. I generally ask these questions when I go to classrooms and do face to face. So right, we are a 103 years old company. How much knowledge we have from that, all those 103 years. We have that knowledge in some kind of documents as well, some kind of images as well. We have lot more information. Now, what all those documents, can I digitize all that? We have a maintenance manuals, we have repair manuals, we have, airplane configuration life cycle. We have so much knowledge. How can we convert that into a digitization? If we can convert that, we will be able to quickly take decisions. So what it will help us is, it will help us to increase productivity, reduce the cycle time, right? Because if I'm uh, now if something happens in the field, the what the field guy will go is, look into manuals and say, okay, this is this much damage, and I have to now look into whether it is in a limit or not in limits. Then I will go back and say, look into what I need to do there. I will go and see if it is not in limits, what type of repair I need to do, and so on. If I digitize everything, click, and you will have all that information. So it will save a lot of time. And do you know how much time we have when we are in airport? Let's say uh, we have to inspect we have to look into the aircraft, and we have to understand, uh, what is the damage, and we have to fix that so that you are ready for the next flight. Any guesses? Just throw some answers in the in the chat box. How much time generally we have to quickly act on it? Come on. Any guesses? 30 minutes. Okay. Anybody else? So you can think from this standpoint of view. Once you are landing, when you land, you come out, right? And the boarding will the loading unloading will happen. All the bags and all will come. And once everything is done, they will clean the flight. Then you have to, we have to start boarding, and everything starts that way. So 2 hours, yeah, that's a good assumption. That's a good assumption. So in we have around 2 hours. Sometimes we have 90 minutes when we have domestic flights, but the bigger flight we have around 2 hours. But in 2 hours we have to completely check, my flight is ready for the next one. I mean, this is what our service guy do. Now, if we find something, if I can help with applying, all the digitization, I will be able to point out, hey, you go and look into that particular valve in a ECS system or a wing system. He will be able to act fast. So similarly, he instead of he looking into, okay, I saw that, and then what action I need to take, he will look into manuals and so, but we will be able to provide that information. Now, Once we have digitized that, then we already talked about in earlier we had PLCs, programmable logic controllers, but we are moving towards IoT. Can I have now, I have flight data coming, right? Time series data. When you fly, from every minute we start getting the data. We will start uh, recording the data. Once you have started, say, from Bangalore to Delhi, we will have all the data available with us. At which when you started, I have this particular temperature sensor was recording that and everything. Then we have all the faults. If it has occurred, I have all that information available with me. And that is not for that particular today. I have that for that particular flight. I will have all the information from the design time, when it came in, when was it first flight and all. So if I have connected all that, yeah, along with my manuals and all, I should be able to automate the things faster, and it will improve the productivity and the cycle time. Then we have a factory. Now we are earlier we are moving to edge analytics now. So that's another transformation happening. Then supply chain, that's another is completely we are automizing that. It will help to take see whether how much parts we need and so on. Asset management. Then we have discrete image simulations, and then comes a digital twin. Now you see how once we start from there, the benefits will keep increasing. If I have a complete digital twin of my every flight, I should be able to uh, simulate everything, and I should be able to from the design till today, I will be able to take correct decisions. So that will increase the benefit. So that's a digital manufacturing transformation. Okay, now we have talked about moving like document era to we are moving to a digital engineering world, right? So I started with the documents, and then we are saying that we will move to the digital engineering era with information flow across the life cycle. So would like to show you something. So this is model based engineering diamond. I'm sure you must have seen that. So this is basically saying is when you start from the design and then delivery. That is the 1V, which you must all have seen. This is not from today. And the modeling and simulation is basically you model it and simulate it. So that's the diamond, call it, model based engineering. Now, I would like to explain you. So if this V, this is the about the physical system. If you this origin of this iconic system engineering V, this was it started in 1990s, 30 to 40 years kind of back. Recognition for the need of system engineering to develop when they were developing the complex missile systems, so that they recognize that they really need system engineering. Now this icon requirements uh, and the system elements. So if you see from here, so this is needs, this is physical system, this is solutions. So what it do is it starts from here to solutions. So what we are trying to say is it moved from left to right. And what it is pointing out, it's a linear series of, engineering life cycle. But because we are starting with the design and then we are delivering, right? So this V starts where that way. Now, from top to left, top to down, from the left side, hope you can see my arrow. From top to down, the left side is the decomposition of requirements and the system elements, right? So from here, we are saying, okay, this is my requirement, and this is how we build the design and how the physical system comes in. And then from here to here, the right side is basically representing the realization of the system. We are here, building the system, realization, the system elements. So this is how this V look like. And as we move from here to here, it is now realization of system, and it passes through integration and finally to the field. So this is how the V look like. And it is, again, I'm telling, it is not today something happened. It was long back, and MIT gives lots of courses on system engineering. So that's the part of system engineering, design delivery. But today, interestingly, so this is what it was like, needs as needed, as offered, as specified, as designed, as planned. That's how the physical system was. And then they built, test, certified, delivered, and support. So this is how they were building this is how the V was, the definition of V was. Now, in today's world, what happens is there are other dynamics which are playing in the engineering product development and the operation life cycle. Can you guess what are those dynamics? We have a comprehensive linking and traceability of requirements. So earlier it was like, okay, as planned, as built. But today we have, instead of set-based design, we have a evolution. We have set-based design versus the single, single baselines. We have lots of things increasing, like, physics-based models. Those are very high fidelity models, multi-physics-based models. Simulations of production systems. So that all that, is adding up, right? So now what is changing? What is changing? Now I have my physical system, and once I have, the whole realization of design and delivery. So there are different challenges which are happening, as I mentioned. So agile software development, simulation of production system. But one of the more unique challenge what we have is the development of the physical world and the virtual representation of the product and services, right? This itself leads to the virtual product development life cycle that can be treated as kind of the mirror image of this V and the top, right? It's a mirror image of physical system on on the top of it. So both retains the V attributes. The funda behind that is same, but the the new diamond which has come now acknowledges the importance of treating the digital twin of as designed, as delivered, as built. Now what is changing, like, so what we are trying to do is we are trying to create a mirror image on top of the physical system. So we will have a different type of system models, product models, component models, and we will be simulating all that, right? We will be modeling that, and then, at the other side of the V, which is this. So here we are kind of simulating that. We will have a virtual assembly integration, virtual qualification, virtual certification, and the operations. And then it leads to solution. So that's basically makes the complete diamond. So the production models, whatever we build, will have a virtual assembly and integration. And this is complete, as I mentioned. So it is the complete reflection. So needs, when you has offered, specified, we are trying to build model on top of it. We will have a component level model, we have a product model, we have a system models. So we have a system models. We will have the whole virtual representation of what the models we want to build as a physical system. So that's a digital twin. So as planned is something the production model. Now I have a imagination, or I know that how my virtual product look like. And this is when you planned and you are able to see that as planned, and you will be able to see that in the virtual representation as a digital twin. Now, similarly, the other side part of it, when you have designed, you will be built, tested, certified, delivered, supported, you will go there. But similarly, the top part of it is allowing you to do the virtual assembly and integration when you're building, right? So, and the virtual qualification when you are testing and certifying, here down, you're doing the virtual certification on top of it. Virtual operations, virtual ecosystem. So that's the mirror image of this part. So that's how this diamond gets complete. And as built, we will be able to, we will have a virtual assembly and integration. So there is a connection now. So that's what we are moving towards. And this is how the whole diamond look like. And if you see the digital thread with the example I started with, right, the digital thread, how I'm going to connect my all the fields like, delivery, design, and so on. This is what the digital thread is. I have all the till services. From the requirements, I have everything connected. That's what I mean by the uh, uh, digital twin or the digital world digitization. Okay, so you are with me? That makes sense to all of you? Yes, no? Okay, great. Thank you. So now we have talked about what was we initially talked about saying, what was the digital, why we need to connect everything. And then we talked about how we are connecting. We talked about how, say documents are converting into, digitization. We started from the documentation and then IoT and so many things, how we are connecting. We'll take questions later. So this is how the whole, what we have talked, the whole diamond will look like, from needs to solution, from physical system to digital twin. Okay, now let's talk about how we are integrating our model-based engineering with model-based manufacturing. So we have, so we are a manufacturing company, we know that, right? So how we are trying to connect everything. Okay, so we have, so we have around 30 minutes past. Would you like me to take questions, Sujata, in between? Then I can come to this. Sujata, are you on mute?
Yeah,
Can you?
yeah, Sujata
Okay.
is not there and Sadhana. I think if you want, you can take questions now.
Okay. I
Yeah.
can take questions now because I see
Yeah.
lots of question coming in case
Yeah.
if something related to the
Yeah,
topic,
you
can
have
take
one
that.
question. How do low cost carriers achieve aircraft turnaround as low as 45 minutes?
Say again.
How do low cost carriers achieve aircraft turnaround times as low as 45 minutes?
Oh, okay. Low cost carrier. When you say our small aircrafts,
Yeah, yeah,
as low
yeah.
as 45 minutes. Okay. Yeah. So this is basically that's what. So we are not. I have not touched upon that topic today. But what happens is if you are aware, if you have heard about airplane health management, we have that system in our aircrafts. So airplane health management allows our airlines, our customers, to take all the models into it. All the analytics based models or the subject matter knowledge based models are into AHM. Now, when you're flying, it is able to look into, track, what's happening. And it can send the information on ground saying, hey, this fault has occurred. Okay. Once that fault has occurred, then we have to make sure, let's say, this fault is occurring or, this fault has occurred. We have to change this part. So while you're in fly, we should be able to handle that within, when you're in fly, I will be, if let's say I'm an engineer, I should be able to have that part available. So as soon as you land, we should be able to fix that. So that's how, it helps the domestic or the low cost carriers. Yeah. Next question. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, thank you, Seema. There's another question which is relating to database. What type of database is used?
Okay, so when you say database, I'm thinking you're talking from the database point of view, like, are we using Oracle database, or are we using cloud, or are we using SQL database, MongoDB, or so on?
Huh,
Is that
probably
correct?
looks like, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so we are not bound to one database or something. We are using many different databases. So I will show you in subsequent slide how we are so connecting. But we have if I have to name some, we have Teradata, we have so for small applications we use MongoDB, etc. So we have different databases we use. But if I think of having connection of all these digital twins kind of thing, we use kind of cloud. We are using Azure, we are using Google Cloud, and we have our own internal cloud as well.
Okay. I mean, because you have a very massive data when we are trying to talk about an aircraft component, the data is extremely huge, I suppose, right?
Right. And if I ask this team that can you guess how many sensors will be there on a say 777?
Hmm.
I think I don't know if anybody can answer that. Anybody want to answer that in the chat window? How many sensors we will have on say 777s? Just want to give you the sense of how much data it is. Any
I
thoughts?
think at least on thousands.
You're
How much?
right. Yeah. So yeah, so we have definitely thousands. But now the question is, okay, I see 25,000 and 3,000. Okay. So 3,000, 25, no, not 25,000. Oh my God, this is too big. No, we don't have that many sensors. The aircraft will be very heavy with that. So we have to do a trade-off. So what we have, so we do have this many sensors, Amog, when we have, when we do flight test on the ground, but we can't fly with that many sensors. So what we have around for 777 we have around the range of 1,500 or so, but for 787 we have around the numbers shown 7,000. Yeah, that's a good number, 7 to 8,000 in between that.
Uh, Thank you, Seema. Would you like to take some more questions?
Yeah, I can take. Do we have more questions?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a participant asking you what are the specific real world tools available, say the software, hardware, etc., to build a digital twin.
That's a good question. So there are tools available. Let's say the simulation tool. First, you need a simulation, right? You want to simulate your aircraft, right? You want to simulate from the physics-based model. So there are tools available. We have internal Boeing tool as well as if I have to name outside of the word, there are different tools available. Like if I very simple example, if I give you, I can't name some of that because there are very internal and proprietary. But MATLAB Simulink, right? So it is able to simulate you. So you can, if you are from this background, you will be able to simulate the whole environmental control system. MATLAB is providing you these days. And even you can, so we work with Cranfield University, so they work on some of the simulations for us. You can even, they have simulated, say, whole APU, and they have tried to auxiliary power unit, and they have tried to simulate that in MATLAB. So that's one example. And there are many other simulation tools as well. These days, even Python, you can, if you want to do small simulations, if you have heard about SymPy and ManPy and so on. So there are different ways you can do that simulations. And for manufacturing, there are, I think, Witness, there are many tools. Yeah, some of them I just took name.
Sounds very interesting. The next question talks about at what stage are we in that we can handle data that is produced by digital twin? Are the systems capable?
Repeat the question.
Mm, at what stage are we in where we can
Uh,
handle the data that is produced by digital twin? Are the systems capable of handling this data?
yeah. So if I talk about where we are at very initial stages. So but if you see, I show you the chart, right, from the documentation and then IoT and so on. So that we are able to handle, right? So we are able to document. So let's say I have a different documents, I'm able to digitize all those by using NLP, natural language processing. I'm able to handle that and applying artificial intelligence on top of it, and I will be able to without looking into the manual, I will be able to identify which part, and where the location is and what are the specifications and so on. Now we can also handle, say all the that is also we are able to do it today, like, from the assembly, from, when the part came in, and then, when that's from the different suppliers. I'll talk about that, and, then you will able to simulate, and when we are doing the assembly during the factory, and then you do some production flight test before we deliver to the customers. So all that data we are able to handle. We are still we are making good, we're doing a good job. Third part is the physics based models, which we, if I have a combustor, I need a equivalent physics based model for that. That's something which we are kind of, very initial stages we're trying to do that.
Okay, thank you, Seema, for that. The next question here is, what's the difference between digital twin and a simulation system?
That was my last slide.
Ah, would you want to add something on it?
I mean, simulation is simple simulations. I'm trying to combine the digital word, like the real word, into that. Simulation is only simulation, right? You're simulating it. But, you simulate it and, it performs something else. But I'm trying to, like, when the flight is like flying, and what is the real word into it? It's combination of both physical
From
systems, simulations, as well as, all the real time data which we are collecting. So that's kind
exactly.
of, yeah.
I wanted to highlight on the real-time data, making simulation more realistic so that you
Exactly.
get better results. Uh, is the data stored in the aircraft or in cloud?
Yeah. So some of the data we have to have in aircraft, like, we have to take quick decision. And then we have data in the cloud as well. And we have our clusters as well. If you've heard about Hadoop clusters, Spark clusters, yeah, Spark clusters, we have the data there as well.
Thank you for it, Seema. Role and future of optic fiber sensors in aviation and its digital twin contribution.
Definitely. It will play a role. Optics fiber. Yeah. There is a, so if you think of, as somebody wrote, that many sensors, we have to move, if let's say I want to put more and more sensors, we have to think of smart ways, right? Optic sensors, or we have to think, wireless sensors, or so on. There will be a lot of, we have to think in that direction. So there will be definitely a very good scope for that.
Thank you, Seema. Are the data transferred in flight or it is transferred only when the aircraft touches the ground? Is there any initiative from Boeing to transfer the data during flight?
Yes. Answer is yes. We are sending that. If we are not sending that, then, we are, it's costly, it's a costly deal, but that's what we are, some of the part we are sending through ACARS, if you have heard about that. But slowly we have to think of something differently, sending the data to cloud, and, do that. We are working towards that. But answer is yes, we are sending the information to the ground.
Thank you, Seema. The next question asks you the cost difference between simulation and digital twin, which is costly.
Of course, digital twin,
Thank you.
because you have lot more to do there. Yeah.
Correct. The next question is, how will the data be able to be managed when there will be a systems upgrade? For example, when we move on to next generation of computers, how can we manage this massive amount of data during migration?
Yeah, that's why I will, let me talk about that. It's coming in the slides. So we have to, as I mentioned, I wanted to give you a sense of, when we have 7,000, 8,000 sensors, and we are recording it every second, right? The recording, sometimes even there are, like, in every second, we are recording 4 values. You can imagine the velocity and the volume, because we have around, say, if I think of my whole fleet, how many aircrafts Boeing has, we have to record all that data. So we need to have a smart ways. So we have to, we have to compress the data, and then, we are storing the data into the cloud, is something which one of the solution, and then clusters, because we have to handle the data, parallel processing, how we will handle that data. So lot more efforts are going on, and I want to show you that in the next slide. So I think we have to stop here. We have 10 more minutes or 12 more minutes left for the talk, right?
There are few more questions. Anyway, I think you can continue with the talk, and we could even take the questions after it is over. Your
Sure.
discussion on
Or
this topic.
okay, yeah, 12 more minutes according to the time clock. I will just move on now.
No issues, Seema. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So now I was talking, so we understood the digital twin. So now we have integrated model-based engineering with model-based manufacturing. That's what I'm trying to explain you. Now let's say when we have sales, when we are making a digital twin, we have to think of every aspect of it. So what at the sales, virtual reality tours, like, when, so in Seattle, we have a very good virtual reality center where you will be, the customers will come and they will be able to, virtually see their product. The customer visualization, the mission simulations, how, the whole fleet, if they have, how the fleet will be simulated, how the flight, say, is traveling from this point to this point, we simulate all that. So that's we have that's from the sales side. And once we have that, the customer configuration, when customer he will give his configuration, that goes into engineering. And at engineering, we will have to do mock-ups, and we have to have interference analysis, behavior analysis, and even the flight analysis. Once we have that information, we send that to like design information to the production engineering. Now we have a production engineering team. So where the information will go to supply chain, to fabrication, and to the final assembly. So what from the production engineering, like, when we are thinking, okay, what type of parts we need to produce, what should be the shape, what, how we build the sequence simulation, and so on. We will send the information to supply chain. Hey, the part shape should be, this, and we have different suppliers, and they will send us those parts, and that goes back here. Now, from the fabrication point of view, we will tell, this is the part shape, this is the location, context, and so on. We will give all that information, factory flow simulation, and that information will come, and again, parts will be sent to final assembly. And similarly, the production engineering will send that the work instructions and all to the final assembly. And once we have all that, we have the part location, we have the workflow instructions, we have factory flow simulation, all that. We have a final assembly. That's what we do in our Seattle factory and the Renton factory. If you get a chance, please do visit. We allow our visitors to come. And then once we do the final assembly there, and that's how the product, we build a product, and that's the product comes. Now, so this is what we were doing, right? This is what we discussed in as planned as versus as built as versus as flown, right? So this is the digital twin concerns, right? We have, if we have connected everything, this is that V-shaped model we talked about, and this is how the product will be there, and it will fly as planned versus as we thought of, and the modification analysis and the aftermarket service. Now, as one of you asked, I would like to touch upon this part as well. Now we have, so this was during the design phase. Now, once I have design from the operation phase, what we will do, we have to have all the data. Now, when I'm flying, like, say I have airplane data. When we are flying, you all record all the data. So that's the airplane data. We have navigation data, say, how to fly from Bangalore to Chandigarh, how you will go, and from Bangalore to Chennai, there are two ways how we will navigate that. The crew scheduling, right? So when you're getting into the flight, the crew schedule, what time they will be coming, and which people, and all that crew scheduling will be there. Flight planning, flight decks. Flight decks is nothing, it's like, flight deck effects. When their fault comes, I should have that information from the history. And maintenance and leasing and operation management, so much data. So all we want to connect, even during the operations. First was during design, but during the operation also, if I have all that information connected, I should be able to do my self-service analytics. So here I'm showing some of the things like, which are already there in the cloud, completely connected, and some we are, working towards it. So that's utilizing the cloud structure. Most of you asked the question, how we store the data. So this is, I'm showing you, we have not only the data from aircraft, we have different data sets coming in, and we have to have that connected, and we have to have that information. So that's how we are trying to connect. So now the production system key elements we talked about. So the digital twin, the performance measures design and build attention, capability models, logistic and inventory models, supply chain models, simulation analysis, which we already talked about. That these are some of the key elements which we have to keep in mind for the digital twin. Now, just want to show you something here. So we talked about digital twin. We talked about the technology, what we are getting out of it. I want to give you some examples here. So first one is artificial intelligence, machine learning, advances on the factory floor. How we are able to manage, the factory floor. So this is, if you see here, this is all automation happening. Lots of things we are trying to do by robots, and the things are happening. And this is, if you see, this is how the Seattle factory look like, our average delivery center, where you see all the, these are all ready for, moving line assembly. So it will go there, and some things will, they will fix it, and then it will move further, and then the next aircraft will come and they will do further. So it's a moving line assembly. The work is going 24/7, and we are building the aircrafts. And I'm not asking questions there, but I wanted to ask here, can you guess, how many days it takes to build an aircraft, assemble an aircraft? I'm not talking about building the parts and all, but assembling the aircrafts by the moving line assembly. You can put that in the chat box, think over that, and tell me how much time it will take if I have to make sure, say, one aircraft should be ready to deliver to my customer from the assembly, from the time when I got all the parts and all. You're thinking too much? No, no. We are very fast. We will not be able to take all the orders if we think of 12 months or so on. Yeah, somebody is talking in days now. That's good. Okay, so this is one of the example I wanted to give, how these artificial intelligence and machine learning helping us in, factory. We are automating the things, and, we are managing our space. If you think of our Boeing factory, just do a Google search and see in older days, the zigzag assembly, how it was like, there was no space and it was messy. So this is how the things are improving. Now, the other part is autonomous inspections, boost safety and productivity. So now generally, if you think of what we have to do is, if we have to inspect when we are for the scheduled inspections, when the aircraft comes, I'm not talking about that inspection when we just talked about 2 hours or so, but here it has come for inspections, and I have to now completely inspect it. All the field service guys will go and, inspect it. So what we are thinking now, we are moving towards the drone. So if you see here, there is a drone it will take images, it will move out, it will go directions, and, on top, down, and everywhere, it will take the images. So once we have those images, we want to completely autonomous these inspections. Once I have that images, I apply image analytics or computer vision to identify if there is a damage. Right, that's what I want to do during my inspection. If there is any damage, I will do a computer vision, and I will apply image analytics. That's what we are doing currently. So we will be able to identify, okay, if there is a fault, say at, the wing or at the fuselage. Then the next step will be, I am giving you a great example of the digital twin, what we discussed. Now I have that completely automated. And now once I fed that information, okay, my damage is in, say, 0.3 inch or something, just to throw one example here. Then the next step is 0.3 is allowed? Can I, still fly, or do I need to do some repair here? So then, we have to look into maintenance manuals and all. So there, if I have completely digitized manuals, I should be able to do that quickly, completely automated. I should fix it, and it will say, okay, hey, this is in limit, no worry. This is not in limit. You have to now think of a repair. And then we tell the field guy, hey, this is a repair you need to do, right? So how much time it will save by the autonomous inspection? And there will be no human errors as well, right? So because we have trained our drone to take images and those, so the human errors will be reduced. So this is an example of autonomous inspections. And other thing, using the power of data to design the right product. So we can even, when we are simulating, we are able to see that how my product will look like. As you know, we don't not only work on aircrafts, right? We have our defense area as well. So we will be able to imagine our products, and we will also be able to simulate how my product will operate in the field, and what will be the optimal design. How can I collaborate on my design? How will I know my design will work or not? So all that will we will be able to do that by having such a digital space in our world. Now we will have new ways to solve the traditional manufacturing problems. Like, when can I expect my airplane to be complete? So because I have this many orders, if I have digitized everything, I will be able to see, okay, this many days I will be able to make the my aircraft will be ready. Now, where can I reduce inspection? Say I'm doing inspection at, right, in the car when you go, they say come after for service after 5,000 hours and this much hours and so on after. So similarly, we have in the case in the aircraft. How can I reduce the inspections? Do I really need to, when you go for services of car, they will say, hey, change the oil, this too. Do you really need to do? You think, right? You will think, if I avoid this, what will happen? Don't Nobody wants to pay, right? So if it is not required, why should I do that? So by doing this, we will be able to see, yeah, like, do we really need inspection now, or my all parts are okay? Where does the tool life begin to affect first pass quality? How can I open up my engineering tolerance, and so on? Though so many questions will be able to answer, which are traditional manufacturing problems. So we are at 7, and this is that's all I wanted to convey. And I'm really thanking you. Thanks for all the attention and all hearing me. And I'm looking forward for ideas. I don't want only attention. If you have some ideas, please send us that information. I'm looking forward for that, and Boeing is looking forward that we want to make our products better and better with all the, and we open up, sometimes to startups and all, if they have some ideas, and then we take their ideas, and we work together. So thank you for all your attention, and let me know if you have some ideas. Connect with me on the LinkedIn, I will accept it. But and you can even go to Boeing Facebook's page, Boeing LinkedIn page. You can put your ideas there, and we should be able to hear that.
Thank you,
Oh,
Siman. It was
yeah.
extremely wonderful and one of the domain which many of us had not heard about. And your talk has, what you say, evoked a lot of questions in our mind. A lot of thinking processes happening personally, even from my end, which I had not thought about it when I sit on an aircraft also. So I
Yeah.
think this is a very nice, interesting talk, extremely informative, and I think there are few more questions for you. Would you like to take them?
How much? Okay, let's
Maybe a
take
couple.
maybe 4 or 5. It's already
Okay.
7, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because they are very interested, passionately, people have put in questions. So I thought
I'm
we will
so
finish a
sorry.
couple of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
There's one participant who wants to know beyond ACARS, is there any technology development in the process for huge data transfer during flight? If you can throw some light on it.
So the question here is, while we are sending the data to the ground, is it the huge? What was the question? Say again.
I'll just repeat it for you. Beyond ACARS, is there any technology development in the process for huge data transfer during flight? Can you
Yeah.
throw some
Yeah.
light on
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yes, yes. So ACARS is the common way, but yeah, we are trying to, through satellites, we are trying to build lots of work is going in this direction, and we are trying to build that. But ACAR is the known solution, which is known for the outside world as of now. I can say that.
Thank you. The next
If
question
you have
is
heard
what are
about the streaming of the data, right? So can I stream the data to the ground? So if those type of things, we are, there are many efforts going on in that.
okay. The next question is what are the challenges typically faced in setting up the digital thread?
That's a good question. There are challenges. One is, when we are setting up a digital thread, there are many different things and which are lying in silos. First, you have to connect all that, right? As I mentioned. So if
Correct.
you have the data from design team will say, why you need that data, right? Simply it's just, and then you have in-service data from airlines, right? So there are challenges in that way. And then, how to, then, that is mainly, I mean, it's possible saying, uh, I would like to say just an example, say for a particular aircraft from the date when it come and, I would like to have all the information. That's all data mapping and all the techniques are available. From technical point of view, I think it's possible. It's not a big thing. And there are different techniques today when we are doing the digital thread. Like as I mentioned, if it is a manual, I should be able to apply natural language processing to extract that information. And if it is images, because some of the images I would like to have that, then I can apply image processing to extract that information. Especially factories and all, we are all connected. So IoT, that way it works very well. So yeah. So if you're starting from scratch, definitely there are challenges. But in Boeing, I think we are not starting from scratch. We have all the information available.
103-year-old organization. So
Yes. Yes.
definitely the knowledge
Yes.
will be built into. Uh,
Exactly.
Thank you. The next question is why so many accidents happen during bad weather?
Yeah. So I will say this is not during bad weather is the right word, or I don't know whether it is the right term to say. Uh, so there are, like, if I ask you the same thing, right? We, as of now, bad weather. If you're going in the car, also, if there is a bad weather, you will also be very careful, right? So if you are thinking in the context of bad weather, right? So it is something similar you can think of when the pilot is flying in the bad weather. Will, you will have a movement, turbulence, and so on. That if you're thinking that way, I think you know the answers, right? What exactly? I mean, right? When just whenever you ask such type of questions, whenever I ask, I think of, I take an example of my car. When I was thinking of a schedule inspections for the, having faults in my car, I think of my car, similarly with the aircraft. So just think in that direction. So it is a similar answer.
Thank you. What is a good place to start off with simulation software? And what are the aspects of an electrical engineer in the digital twin strategy?
Electrification.
Yes, electrical domain.
Exactly, electrification. That's the one thing you can do, and definitely,
Very important.
electrical team play a lot of role. If you see our wiring diagrams, the form boards, and everything in the aircraft, it's all electrical work. Lot of scope.
Thank you, Seema. I have a question for you. You showed a picture of drone which is trying to inspect an aircraft and it will be able to analyze what's happening from outside. But
Hmm.
I'm very sure there are a lot of small parts existing within an aircraft. How is it monitored? Do you have some sensors which will tell this is the phase that part and it needs to be replaced? Do you have something which monitors it internally?
Yeah, we talked about that, right? So we have around 7,000 to 8,000 sensors inside this.
So
So we are
these
recording
monitor the internal
every
parts.
second. Exactly, we are recording it every second, and that's how our data is very huge. So we know, say, okay, in wing, say, the economic cooling valve where we all sit, right? So say there, we have a different set of sensors that will be able to point out, hey, you are in this zone. Then if there is a error on the wing, where or fault on the wing, there is a separate sensors for that. So we have that knowledge, as well as we have all the data. So we have subject matter knowledge, we have techniques. We have around 800 engineers from artificial intelligence, data analytics, and Boeing. So
Okay.
they work together with the subject matter expert, and so that is taken care internally, and externally, it's basically doing the inspection, which is the person was supposed to do. It's helping that for the
Okay.
inspection. Yeah.
Okay. That means you can figure out at any point of time, there is some issue with some part, it needs to go in for a replacement, you can always figure it out. How much
Yeah.
part of the aircraft is autonomous? Will the pilot be on the autonomous mode for a longer period of time, or you give a control back to
This is,
him?
this is very, very good question. So what happens is, we show, I don't know if you search in the cockpit, they put a dog there. There is an image. I wish
Okay.
I could have shown you. So they say that actually the aircraft is completely, I mean, it is autonomous. So we put a dog there and show that image saying, the dog is there so that pilot should not touch
Okay.
everything. And so
Okay. Okay.
yeah, so it's mostly autonomous, but yeah, there are few things which he has to keep, speed and so on, but it is mostly autonomous. Even the path is autonomous, that I have to fly from this
Okay.
path to that
Okay.
path, that is completely autonomous.
See, many a time we trust human beings rather than something being autonomous, right? So when we talk
Exactly.
about autonomous car and autonomous aircraft, so it becomes a little bit challenging for us to sit in an aircraft again and know that it is highly autonomous. Thanks for that
But there is a
insight.
person. But there is a person there. So
Who will
if you
handle in
believe,
case of exigency?
exactly, if you believe on humans, there is a human as well. That's why
It's a
you
balance.
should not be worried. Yeah, it's a balance.
Okay. And these sensors, where do they get energy? 7,000 sensors. They monitor every time. What is the resilient and capability and the capacity of the sensor that it doesn't fail and monitors continuously?
Yeah, so there are lots of checks happens for that.
That's true.
Yeah, I can't tell the capacity in terms of,
Okay.
how much capacity, but yeah, there is a continuous testing on that. And even while we are recording the data, say, as I mentioned, we have a history of the data available. So
Correct.
if my data, let's say particular sensor is not recording correctly, I will be
Uh,
able to see that, so compare with, let's say I'm comparing, just an example, I'm comparing valve opening, and
uh-huh.
comparing pressure, and I'm comparing temperature. So
Uh-huh.
let's assume that this particular valve is
Mm,
to, for say, for applying cooling. So now,
uh-huh.
if let's say my temperature sensor is not correct, I have
Mm,
a pressure sensor, I have a valve opening at the same time, right? I know when I
uh-huh.
open this valve, this much cooling should happen. And if the
Okay.
temperature is not recording that correctly, I should be able to capture that. This is an analytic way I'm telling you.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
I could able to get. I think there are no more questions right now. Definitely, we will connect you on LinkedIn and trouble you with lot of questions that we have and try to get a lot of information from you. Thank
Sure.
you, Dr. Seema Chopra. It was extremely interesting. On behalf of IEEE Bangalore section, I would like to thank you for giving such an informative insight onto this aviation industry, which we had not heard much before. And then thanks to all the participants for their interest in attending this webinar. We will continue to have this webinar next month on the last working day of the month. Thanks to our chair, Puneet Mishra, who has been ever supportive for us to have all these activities in terms of webinar series. Thanks, Sadhana. Thanks, Changappa sir. And thank you all the participant. This was really very interesting. Thank you, Seema, once again.
Thank you. I really enjoyed, and thanks to such a nice audience. It was really interactive discussion, and I really enjoyed that. And thanks once again. I wish you all the best for all the further seminars. Thanks for inviting me. Really enjoyed. Thanks,
Thank you.
Sadhna, Chingappa sir, and Sujata.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sima. It was really interesting.
Thank you.
Bye,
Okay,
Seema.
take care. Stay safe. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Bye.